Anybody need a pen, something to write with? Finger paints, watercolors?
I mean, we got to write?
Yeah.
You might.
Listen to what you think.
I just asked if you need something.
They're on phone on that.
So wonderful.
Oh, two, sorry.
It's such
So-
a blessing.
Anybody
You
want
pray
to
for her.
dispel or share anything that they have studied this week? Or something that's came to them this week, something that they found this week? Anything you want to share, something that's jumped out at you since the last time you were here? Go ahead, Roger, I know you're waiting.
I'm waiting on everybody else. We know her.
He's in no hurry.
I studied a little bit of that, what you asked us to on health.
Okay, all right. You've been writing some stuff down? Just hold on to it, just hold on. We're gonna need that for future, so hold on to that, but as long as you've been working on it.
I've been working on it.
Just hold on to it, we're gonna need it. Not tonight, but we're gonna need it, just be getting ready. Anybody else, anything that you studied jumped out at you? Okay, so, first thing we do tonight is we're going to, you've got your paper in front of you. And you've got 3 sections on your paper, daily, weekly, and yearly. So, first thing I want you to do is think about every day when you get up. Every day when you get up, what runs through your mind about today's plan?
Oh, gosh.
Today's plan. Just specific to today's plan. Run through your mind what comes to you when you get up in the morning or when you go to bed the night before, whatever. What runs through your mind about today's plan? And write down, Steve don't have any. So write down anything that comes to your mind that you think about.
The first thing I
In the
have to do
morning.
is, did Hasselberg bring down last night? That's the
She's-
first thought in my
she's
head.
working.
How many math problems are we gonna have to explain today? How
So
many people are gonna look at you like?
write down
You're wrong. I have to have my bills today.
anything that comes to your mind when either the night before or when you get up that morning that you got to do today. You're going to try to get done today. Something that comes up that you're typically known to do, or something repetitive that goes through your mind, something that comes to your mind that you get back in your mind every morning that
How many times can I
you
get this thing
plan
fixed?
to do this today. Rick has got a lot on his mind over there, I can tell. He's thinking real hard.
Not when you see this.
Did you hear him? Not when you see this. Well, there's Tony. She made it.
I made it.
Right.
She went to pray before we started.
What's your plan? Or what
That
you
day.
have to do?
Just whatever comes to your mind that you're thinking that you need to do in your plan for the day. Anything that comes to your mind. So,
Here you go.
Like coffee.
make coffee. Hey, those priorities, you gotta get them all in order.
Coffee first thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Brenda's making
Weekly
coffee.
and yearly.
They're all in the book of Hebrews at first thing in the morning.
Mine comes on at 8:30,
8:30 automatically.
automatic.
What if you don't get it?
Still comes on.
It'll be on when I get it.
How long does it stay on?
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours. Okay.
Sometimes,
Well, I got a
So
sometimes I get it.
catch Tony up here. Anything that you think of when you get up in the morning, what comes to your mind that you think of today's plan? Things I got to do today. Things I got to deal with today. Things I got to do today. Anything that comes to your mind. Then, while you're working on that, we'll go ahead and move to a week. Just what comes to your mind, maybe right at the end of the week or the beginning of the week, what comes to your mind of some things you're thinking, I've got to try to remember and do that this week. I need to do that this week. And week to week, these are things you typically plan. I'll give you an example on Courtney Maven. So Courtney May slips off and don't work one day in the week. And instead, that's the day she plans to go pick her groceries up
That's true. And laundry.
and laundry. So that was the day she was off work. What day was that?
Thursday.
Thursday. So that yesterday was the day she was off. And she knew she'd be off. So she planned on that day, this week on Thursday, I'm going to plan to go pick up the groceries and do some laundry. 'Cause I know I'm off work.
I'm sorry, but we don't have bread and I need waffles and we're not oatmeal cakes.
Important stuff.
Yeah, necessity.
Important stuff. So, but before Thursday came, she could have planned that because she knew she was going to be off that day. So she's planning.
She hadn't planned very good, though.
What happened?
Well, she thought she was picking it up at 9, when we got over there, it was supposed to be 10, so she had to sit.
Burn an hour?
Burn an hour.
You should have seen me, I was like,
Well, that's interesting.
I did not dress for that because that's the point of going to pick it up. You leave your jammies on.
Yeah. Well, you look like everybody else in there. You
Everybody
look
else.
They
natural.
go in with their jammies on.
I have my Crocs on and everything
You
though.
would've
No
been all
socks.
right.
Working with no socks. My hair
So
was up
that's
top.
that's the step there
There was no.
that we get into.
Go back.
Uh,
Yes, thank God. Yeah, they came, they normally never come to the window. I just opened the back and they put it in there. And here he comes and I was like, and he's like, grabbed it and I
so
said, it's for me.
so we're doing things that we're going to do a week now. So we talked about when we get up what we're thinking about today, and then we're formatted to think about what we're going to do this week. And then we get to, what about maybe just things we're going to do this year? There's things that we might run into that we want to do this year.
She's in Hollywood.
Callie flew to Hollywood, in her journey. But just think about that. Something this year, anytime further out, it's only getting ready to be April, so you got 8 more months of the year, 2/3 of it easy,
If I'm still saying.
still left. Just things that you might be thinking that you need to do, or you're planning on doing or accomplishing this year. Anything that comes to mind. All the Rogers are retired. They're not finding nothing yet they want to put on their paper.
I need, she writes out a plan for the month and the year, but I don't.
She writes it all out. Yeah.
She's got her little book, got stuff in there, but I don't do stuff like
I have two, just in case. You just never know.
So just think about that. You got a day, and you do this without thinking. This is really natural to us that we don't really think about this. But every morning you get up, it crosses your mind of something you need to do, or you're going to try to do, or you want to do, or whatever. And then it's also pretty much natural to us, or habit to us, that we think about this week or the month, and we stretch out to the year. There's people I know, I've worked with people that they'll decide they're going to go on a big vacation and spend a lot of money, so they're going to start saving up their money this year to go spend it all on the vacation next year. And so they plan this, and they'll go to the bank and have their slum fund, as they call it, where they put their account, where they just put so much in it all the time until they build it up and they're ready to go. But they plan that. Now they know they're going, and they're setting their plan, and they're booking whatever for 2025. So between now and 2025, I'm going to save up X amount of money to go blow while I'm there. And they do it all the time. I watch people do it all the bank. You would be surprised, the bank, how many people does that. That actually go in, or finance a vacation. That's the other one that's mind-blowing. You wouldn't believe how many people go and finance their vacation for how much money.
That's saving in reverse.
Yeah, so, they do that. That's a big thing that some
Instead
do.
of saving up for it for the year, they can pay it off.
They just pay it off after they, so,
They used to have a Christmas fund at the bank.
mhm,
You pay on it, then you get your money.
Yeah.
This right here
Yeah.
is a typical man and woman.
I used to have it all the time.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I took mine completely out.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah, see that, see that? So,
You pay the
so,
bills, you pay the
Just hang on to that. Steve's working hard here. Steve's got a very complicated one over here he's working on. So I want you to think about this very simple but very broad thought tonight of the fact, and this is what I'm going to tell you, that one idea from God can change your life. Just one idea. One idea from God can change your life. Now, we don't calculate that right and understand that to the vastness of what that really is. And I'll give you an example. So here's an easy example for you. Who is this?
Alexander Graham Bell.
Thomas says.
Who? Who'd you say, Chris?
Alexander Graham
He
Bell.
doesn't have a phone.
You're
Frank.
easy. Thomas Edison.
He did graduate.
He had, now think about that. Thomas Edison had one idea. One idea. What did he do? He created the light bulb. What do we have today?
Whole lot of light
A
bulbs.
whole lot, variations of any kind of light bulb. But he had one idea. Just one. And he fell through. He followed through with it. All right. Then we go on. Who's this? Tell me who this is. Okay.
The Rose Brothers.
They had, yeah. He had one idea. Just one. And what was his idea?
Wow.
We're going to fly. And what do we have today?
All kinds of flying
A
things.
whole world of aviation. We are now off the ground with aviation. But you know what? They just started with one idea. Just one. All right, let's look at another one. Who's this? Bill Gates. What did he have? What was his idea?
I don't have a computer, I don't know that boy.
Huh? Yeah, what was his idea? What did he create?
Email.
You gotta back up. You gotta get before that. He started with a computer, went to an operating system, and then went into the building with all the other geeks and gurus to building the World Wide Web as we know it, the WWW. But Bill started with one idea. Just one idea. Now, if all these people, and just look how major Bill Gates' project has become. In here, I want anybody under the age of 55 to not answer this question. What is AI?
I know this.
There we go. What is artificial intelligence?
Robots. Robots.
Okay. Anybody wants to answer can answer. What is AI?
The worst thing that ever happened to public schools.
Give me some examples of AI.
Terminator.
Okay. There you go. What else?
You know what he was?
What's some examples of AI? When you pick up the phone and you call somewhere and they say, press 1 for English.
Yeah.
Me habla español y número ocho.
Siri.
Yeah, Siri. What else? Amazon, Alexa.
Yeah.
All this AI.
That's what David tries to call me.
Huh? Alexa?
That's what David calls me.
Yeah.
Give me a cup of coffee.
Yeah, he's got you going. All this AI, but it all backed up, and we back up to all this rooted back to just one idea. One plan, just one plan. And look where it brought us. You have the unlimited ability of intelligence sitting in your pocket at all times. If you had people believe what this would be capable of doing in 2024, if you told people that in 1950, 1970, what would they have said?
You've been in the straight line.
Yeah, you'd have been locked up somewhere. They'd say, well, he has really went off his rocker. But we had planes in the 70s, didn't we? Yeah, we had light bulbs in the 70s, didn't we?
Yeah.
So it all started with a plan. An idea came in a plan somewhere. So just in the mindset, before we go any further for a moment, just think about the fact that if we know that just one idea from God could change our lives, and that's just the starting of it, then what are we going to be capable of having through the rest of our lives? We know that no matter whether you are living through a tragedy, a trial, the best time of your life or the worst time of your life, we know that God has a plan. We know this. We can prove this. We can go through end to end and prove everything. But God had an idea. When did his idea start?
Way back there.
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
Okay. So, in Genesis, we've got the very foundation of the beginning of an idea, the beginning of a plan. We talked about this Wednesday night in class. When was you thought about? We said this was in a verse. What did we say?
For the foundation of the world.
Before the foundation of the world. Before the foundation of the world was set. In Genesis 1:26, he wrote, "Let us make man in our image, and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Now, let me ask you a question. When God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion," had he created man yet?
Oh,
He had an idea, and he was making a plan. Everybody agree? God had already his idea and was making the plan right there of let us make man in our own image. So we go through all this different part of the Bible, and from the beginning there is so much to see as parts of the plan. And I just want you to get this before we go any further tonight, to think about some things. Was this part of the plan?
yeah.
When did this become part of the plan?
Before the foundation of the world.
Okay. So once the fall of man occurred, where?
The Garden of
In the
Eden.
Garden of Eden, we got a problem and no solution until God provided a lamb. Now, we go on to see this was part of the plan. Look at this one. A plan after another. What is this picture of? Okay. In Joshua, if you look through the book of Joshua, a plan after the other. And the fall of Jericho happened after what? Okay. Who told them that?
God.
God told who?
Joshua was told.
Yeah, he told Joshua to tell the people
People.
that you are to march around the walls of Jericho for how many days?
One
A day.
for 6 days.
And then
7 of them.
on the seventh. Was that a plan?
That was God's plan.
God done had an idea of how he was going to overthrow the wall
Yep.
and had a plan, right? He had it already. And we see that through obedience and doing what they're told, it worked. Now you go on into Joshua chapter 6 and 7 when he decides to make his own plan without listening to the Lord first, and things didn't go too well. If you read it and study in the book of Joshua, you'll see that. Well, let's look at another one. The ministry while the Lord walked the earth. Was that not all part of the plan? Who did he pick at the end of his life? At the last few years of his life, who did he pick?
Peter and John,
Yeah, who were they? What were they called?
the disciples,
All right, the disciples.
apostles.
What was the purpose in the disciples? What were they being trained to do?
Carry on preaching.
Okay?
The gospel.
Okay. When?
Once he's gone.
Huh?
Once he's gone.
After he's gone. Well, isn't that making a plan? I'm going to get you ready to spread the good news after I have died and rose the third day so that you can go tell the world. Is that not making a plan? Doesn't have a plan. All following through, all had a plan. All of his entire life on the earth was part of plan to bring redemption to mankind, because as Luke 19 says, he came to do what?
Seek and save them that were lost.
Seek and save those that are lost. Well, there's some other things. Now, we've seen a few examples. I'm just skimming Bible things that we popularly know in the Bible. that all is part of God's plan, has been part of God's plan, God's beginning plan. Now let me give you one that'll stretch your mind a little bit. Let's jump over into Revelation. Here we have the planning of the marriage supper of the Lamb. How long has this plan been in the works? Huh? Before the foundation of the world? Okay. So we know way over how many years. If we just took it from when Christ walked the earth,
Over 2,000.
we're over 2,000. That the planning of the marriage supper. When you get ready to get married, Chris and Courtney's in here, Roger's in here, these people that's been married, Brenda. How long did you all start working on the wedding before it happened? Rick and Tony's in here. How long did you plan the wedding before the wedding?
Too long.
Huh?
I can't remember, it's been too long.
Well, let me clarify on Roger. Roger was threatened to get married. I don't know how much time he had. He was sent a threatening letter.
Maybe 6 months. or
6
something.
months, okay. How long did Courtney and Chris plan the wedding?
Oh, wow.
Like-
Majorly like 4 or 5 months.
Okay. So we're still months out,
Yeah.
you know, okay.
Ours was a week. He called me up and said, will you marry me? And his parents brought him down from Michigan and
You
we
sang
got
for him,
married
planned
and we
it
went
before
back.
you knew.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you all,
No plan.
so Tony had a week. Tony had a week to make the plan. Courtney and Christopher had months that they're working on the plan. Brenda had months. Roger was threatened. We don't know how long he had to go. But to get ready for this wedding they were planning. What all you got to do to get ready for a wedding? What's typical in the planning? What all we got to figure out? Huh?
Who you gonna invite?
Okay. First, you know who you're gonna marry.
Well, I hope so.
We had to go get a blood test.
Yes.
You had-
I didn't
We had to
like-
tell them if we was
I
related
didn't
to
like
each
that.
You had to go get a blood test.
Yes, I didn't want to take my
Yeah.
blood.
They
Okay.
asked what our relation was,
Right.
and we were like, none,
I said fiance?
0.
I said no, we were related.
No, this is Kentucky, by the way. Tells you everything you need to know.
So we got to know where we're gonna have it.
Yeah,
Then we got to settle on when
yeah.
we're gonna have
We
it.
changed that a lot,
Kept changing the plan
and place.
and the place
We
and
paid for 2.
what part of the year you're gonna do it in.
Pick out the dresses.
Pick out all the clothes.
Yeah.
That was
Then,
the easy
then you
part.
get into the menu, all the
Flowers,
menu, what we're gonna eat.
What we're gonna have to-
All the rehearsal dinner, we got to go to the rehearsal, and then we're going to eat after that. All these things, who's going to be in it? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Then you get to all this planning. We march this out like corrugated work here. We plan this thing down to the wire that we're going to. And the funny thing is, a friend of mine I worked with, I played at his wedding, and the crazy bridesmaids were sisters, and they were all blondes. And came up with a great idea that they'd run and get an ice cream or something before they came, and they got stuck behind a car wreck, and we ended up waiting an hour and 15 minutes past time for the wedding to start before they ever got there to put the dresses on.
Vincent forgot his pants.
He forgot his pants?
Forgot his pants.
Yeah. I mean, things
He almost
happen.
got
Walk
married
running
and he
around
had
with no
shorts.
pants on?
Yeah.
Oh, he
So,
had shorts on, blue shorts.
but we worked so hard. We worked so hard to get this plan for this wedding. And I can't tell you how many weddings I've played for. I kept up with counting them at one time, and after I got counting, I got tired of it. But all these weddings I went to, how many of them you think that something always messed up the plan?
Well,
Every time.
Every single one. I went to one time, didn't have a bit of music with me, didn't have nothing. I forgot it at the house. So, I mean, we played whatever come to my mind that day. Nobody, they fine. It all worked. But the plan is set. You've got this thing in your mind set, and you're getting all this together, and you're getting all of this ready. Well, in Revelation, he talks about the preparing for the marriage supper. What is that representing? The marriage supper of the Lamb. What is that representing?
Being together forevermore.
Okay. Who?
The bride and Jesus,
Okay.
God,
Who's the bride?
the church,
The church. Okay. And is there going to be a marriage supper?
evidently.
Okay.
So,
Better have your robe on, your wedding garment,
Well, you ain't
as
going.
it tells me. But think about that. Get that in your mind. God's planning that right now.
Not like that,
Huh? No. But just in what we represent by, and you think about that, God has been working on that and setting that sucker up. And if he only started working on it when Jesus was born, if he did, he's still been working on it over 2,000 years just at that. But the marriage plan's the plan. He had an idea and the plan's being made. And he even talks about all through the different parts of the Bible. Here's another easy example in Luke 1. John's mother, who was known as Elizabeth, was told the plan of her child's life when? When was Elizabeth told about John? Before she was even pregnant. The angel appeared and told her to fear not, for thy prayers have been heard, and that she shall conceive a son, have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth, for he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Israel shall turn to the Lord their God, and he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Prepared means there's a plan. Prepared for the Lord means there's a plan in place. Something is coming, that there is something being planned ahead. But Elizabeth, John's mother, was told about the plan. Well, then you look at Manoah, Samson's mother. She was told what he would be like and the lifestyle that he would live and the plan that God had for his life before he was born. Just as the example, just like John. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, thou now art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. And on down to verse 24, and the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson, and the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. On the plan. God doesn't have this plan. The angel revealed it, the plan. We look at a lot of things in our lives and on your paper. And if you look at that paper and what you write, think about what other people around you in your circle, the boat that we've been talking about, the people you've got in your life that live around you daily or with you daily. If they filled out that same paper you have filled out tonight, how much alike would their paper and yours be? And then you get to looking at that paper. Now, I've done that on purpose to say that now you look at your paper, and how much on that paper is God's plan? How much of what you just wrote on that paper is God's plan? Huh? You put church on there? That's good. You got to start. Think about it. How much did you write down in the busyness of our world, the busyness of things, the rustle and bustle of everything going on? And how much of what you wrote down is any part of God's plan? Look at Proverbs for just a second. And look how quick we are directed to stay to one thing, one idea, and that be God's plan, to commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. And then on down in Proverbs 15, without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. Think about your plans and where they line up with God's. Just exactly where you're at, and all the rustle and bustle you do each and every day. You go on to Luke 14. Here's another quick example. For which of you intending to build a tower, you know this, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether we have sufficient to finish it. lest haply after he hath laid the foundation is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish. I don't know of anybody in this life, especially that's saved, that doesn't want to finish well. Everybody wants, when the day of their death comes, to finish well. And we go so hard and so at it and so busy and so running crazy and doing everything we can to keep up with everything going on around us. But how much of that is God's plan? Not necessarily just ours, but God's plan. Look at your paper and ask you this question of what or who is driving what's on that paper. Are you driving? Is God driving? Is your life, whether it be work, school, relationships, everything around you, what's driving what put your plan on your paper? And then you go to James chapter 4. This is such a good question for you. You made this plan. You've made it out for today, this week, and even a year. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? You don't know? No? But you made a plan. You've got plans to do whatever you put on your paper. Make a plan. We've got a plan. We're going to do this year. We're going to go here this year. We're going to try to go to Yellowstone, Grand Canyon. We want to see this. Rick and Tony went a little bit back at this. Where were you? Rocky Mountains? Where was it y'all went?
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. There you go. We've got a plan. We're going to go out there this year.
You say, Lord willing, after
Okay.
every little
Okay.
thing you say.
But
Lord willing.
you don't know anything about other than right here, right now. We said that Wednesday night. When is the end of time?
Don't know.
Right now. This is the end of time. If you ask, or there ever is a question, anybody asks you when the end of time is, you say it is now. Because you're not promised the next breath you take. So it's right now. This is the end. As far as we know, this is the end of time. But in James 4, he says, you that say today or tomorrow we'll go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain, whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanish away. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. We find too many times that our plan has set us in the quicksand. And our plan put us somewhere other than on the rock. And our plan has got us in the quicksand that we then start feel like that we're dissatisfied, life has derailed and taken away, that there's things coming in our lives we're not ready for. But if you're on God's plan, if you're following God's plan for your life, how ready would you be for everything that comes your way? What do you think about that? By the Bible, how ready would you be for whatever comes your way if you are following God's plan? What do y'all think?
Probably have to listen to that old donkey because we couldn't see what was in front of us.
Yeah. So, Brenda made a statement a moment ago, and I'm going to give this to you right quick, but Brenda made a statement a moment ago that I hear all the time. All the time. All the time. What does that mean? You say it just like your daily plan. You make this daily plan, you set things to get done and be done for the day, the week, the year, whatever, and then you say, Lord willing. What does that mean if you say that?
Really take it from the Bible where you just quoted.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say, it's the Lord's will we'll do. So-
Okay. Yeah?
That's what I think.
Yeah?
If he allows it.
Okay. What else does that mean?
truly in the Lord's will.
Mm-hmm. How many people you think says that and never turn from their plan?
A
They
lot
just,
of times
they
their
persist.
plans don't follow through, that's why.
Yeah,
A lot of people
but they
plan a lot of stuff, and then stuff come up and they can't actually fulfill their.
That's right. It did not go like they thought it would.
Yeah.
It definitely didn't go like they wanted it
Say it
to.
all the time, it don't do me no good to make plans, because something always interferes.
Right? Something always comes up in the way.
Yeah.
Something happens. But think about that for a moment. If you have a plan and something comes up and stops or gets in the way, how much is that possible to be God stopping you from getting where you thought you needed to be? How much possibility is it for God to be the one putting the roadblock up and saying, you better turn, you better make that turn? Think about that. Our plan, we always say, Lord willing, but then we proceed on. It's like the road closed sign is there and we drive right on by it. Because we say, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. I hear that one too. Huh? And the follows the GPS. The road ends and they keep going because Google said so. But you think about that in your life. I thought about that this week because I keep hearing all these people say, Lord willing, I'm going to do it. Lord willing. And I want to ask them, has God told you to do that? Did God tell you that that's the plan? Did God say to you, that's where you need to go? That's what you need to do. That's how you need to do it. Did God say that? Is that really the plan? Because He wrote a plan. He's got a plan plumbed to the end of Revelation 22 that says the end, right? So we're in the plan. You're sitting in the plan right now. You're part of the plan. But how much of what you are doing is really God's plan? Now, there is nothing wrong. I know that we say in the Bible, even says in Matthew 6, that you're not to take no thought for the morrow, what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, all that. And that's right. That's the way that our spiritual living is supposed to be. God is supposed to be able to transform you in an instant to whatever the image of Him would be in the instance that you're in your life. That's what He's supposed to be able to do if you allow Him. But I think in my mind a lot of times that we get that mindset of, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to be there. I'm going this year. I'm going down there this year. I'm going to be there, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Is that God's plan? Or is that yours? How much do people really understand about what God planned? Tell me some things you know that God has planned for your life. Past, present, future. Give me some examples of things you know that, Lord willing, was in the plan.
I'll be at church Sunday.
Okay?
That should be conformed to the likeness of His image.
Okay? What else? What's the first thing God plans for everybody?
To be saved.
That they be saved. And we look through in John, we looked through 1 John, 2 Peter. I just wrote some different ones down so I would know that all of the things that we see requires a one-on-one. We said Wednesday night that you cannot call God your Father without what?
Knowing Him,
Without no. What do we say?
Being
You-
saved?
without Jesus.
without Jesus, because you cannot know the Father through Christ. We said that Wednesday night. You can't call God your Father unless you go through Christ, the intercessor. So we see tonight part of God's plan. What else is part of God's plan? Let me give you another example. Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we supposed to have communion with?
God.
The
Lord.
Father. Communion with the Father. That's part of God's plan. What other part of God's plan is it?
Pray.
Okay? Obedience. Why is obedience part of God's plan? Why would that be part of the plan for your life? That you be obedient.
If you're not obedient, He can't use you.
Mm-hmm. The will is to do the work, or the will of Him who what? Sent me to accomplish His work. All that obedience is part of God's plan for our lives. What about holiness? Are we not supposed to be conformed to the image of Him? Holiness. What about discipleship? What are you supposed to do?
Right, around the world.
Go and tell. You're supposed to share the gospel, share the good
Great
news,
Commission.
the Great Commission. Follow the path that the Lord took while He was here in spreading the good news. What about good works? What about good works? Is that not part of God's plan?
Yep.
That good works come? What have we studied in other parts of this class about people? That we will know them by what? The fruit that they bear. Yeah. But God planned for these things. That's all part of the plan. And then the last one I made a note on was about the fact of progress. God never wants a stagnant Christian. There's no spot for somebody that's stagnant. Lukewarm, I'll do what? Spew you out. God would rather you be progressing in your life in His plan, because that means that you are transforming more and more like Him. You are imitating Christ more and more every day as part of His plan. And we don't get the whole schedule or all the details of what we need to be able to move forward, because part of our test of obedience is whether or not we trust Him. And I believe that wholeheartedly, that part of God's test of your obedience is dependent on how much you're trusting Him. I know people that, I call it prophetics, but I know people that can foretell based off of nothing but the Bible of what they're going to see in this world. And the Bible tells us that clearly. It's part of God's plan. But you see other things that God is able. God not able to reveal to you something before it gets to you, warning before it comes to your way, something before the end happens. Can God not reveal that to us? If we're in the plan, if we're in Lord's will, let's go back to that Lord's will. If it's the Lord's will, and I hear that so much, I hear also, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. And I want to think in my mind, that just came to me when I started looking at this and studying. Well, God had a plan from the beginning. In the garden, the tomb, Elizabeth having John, Manoah having Samson, all these parts of the Bible, Joshua at the wall, God done had it in the plan. All they had to do was do it. That's how sad that our lives are today, is that God's done got it for you planned. He done took the blueprint and wrote her out for you. We're not doing it. That's the problem. We are not doing by the plan. We've got that will of our way, the will of His way, and if I feel like doing it, I'm going to do it. If I don't feel like doing it, I'm not going to do it. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. Is that not true? Is that not what everybody does? If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. Well, who's missing out on the blessing if they do that?
We are.
Yeah. But as you write that paper, and you write on that paper everything you think about when you get up in the morning, and then you go back now and look at that paper and say, by the Bible, that don't even matter. It don't even matter if I make it to cook spaghetti tonight for everybody for supper. Car wreck happens at 2:30 and you never make it home from the store to cook what you bought. That's life is like a vapor. Soon it withers and fades away. You can be taken from this world just like that. That's why you're at the end of time. This is now. It's because you're not promised tomorrow. But everybody in our mind says, Lord's will, I'm going to do it. And then you ask the question of, well, what is God's plan? What is God's plan for you? I'll use Steve as an example. Steve's life of pastoring, you've been pastoring for how many years?
Since 1990.
Okay, so right there is what, 34 years? This is 34 years? Yeah. All through that time, did God have a plan?
Oh, yeah.
Still does. And until He comes back, it's going to be His plan. But every day we write this thing out, just like you got on your paper. Morning, week, year. And there is no harm in having plans for your future. If you say, I want to be a doctor one day, and God lays that path out and enables you to do that, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
No problem. If Tony decides tomorrow that she's going back to school because she wants to be a veterinarian, if God lays that out for her, so be it. so be it. But then it brings me to the thought in my mind, sitting here thinking tonight, of what is these people doing, and is it God's plan? I've seen a lot of people derail in life and head down a path that they thought was good, and it's okay, nothing wrong. Career path even, you know, a good career, they head down that road, it looks good, they head down that road, and God keeps warning them, that's a no, that's a no, that's a no. And then you see divorce, you see problems, you see losing homes, you see can't keep a job, failures everywhere.
Right.
And you look back, and that was never God's plan.
No.
Never God's plan. And that's a warning to everybody in the room tonight of, if you don't know what we're doing right now, right here, if we don't know what we're doing is in God's plan, I would stop right dead tracks where I'm at and say, show me. Show me. Because it's as simple, to me, in my natural mind tonight, it's as simple as the Lord peeling the book back and revealing it to you. Is that not it? He done wrote it. He done knows it. We just don't ask. You have not because you ask not. And the last part of Proverbs 4, I'll give you this because I like these verses. Let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee. How much can you see that is straight in front of you?
Everything.
Just what's right here. You can't see nothing more than what's right in front of you right now while we sit here at this very moment. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Where are you headed? What's the plan? Where are you going? Are you heading in the direction God planned for you to be? Turn not to the right hand, nor to the left, and remove thy foot from evil. You know, most of the time, the only reason the devil's got you doing anything is because he's got you held by the ankle. He's got you shackled to something that you won't let go of. And you're the one holding on to the wrong side, won't let go of it, because a lot of times in fear, we don't know what. We don't know the plan.
Right.
I'm going to stay right where I'm comfortable. I'm going to stay where it's safe. I want to be right here where I know how to do this and what I know to do. And I want to be right here where I can do these things because it's safe, it's comfortable. And I don't want to go into something I don't know how to do or not know what to expect or what's to come. And when you get in that place, you have to ask yourself, is that God's plan? Is that really God's plan that you worry about Courtney getting that grocery pickup? She got so worried about it, she went an hour early. You know, I've got to get the laundry done. If I don't, Chris is going to be going to work with no clothes on. You know,
Nobody
think about,
wants
huh?
Nobody wants
See?
that.
But you think about how much that consumes us. It consumes us. I know people that get tore up over work, they won't sleep at night before they go to work the next day because they've got to do that. Is that God's plan? Not a bit. Not a bit. But that's what we're writing on our paper. We're filling that paper out wide open. I got to do the laundry, do the dishes, got to get Callie to school. She's got a field trip tomorrow. I got to make sure and pack this. I got to blah, 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 blah. We filled all that out. And how much of that had anything to do with God's plan? Zero. Something happens to somebody in this room before they ever got to that plan of theirs. And they go back and look and say, well, that never mattered. I never should have even worried about that because we never even got there to it. Something happened before time to get there and they canceled it, or they didn't have it, or we didn't get to go. And we saved up all this time and effort and we canceled everything and rescheduled everything around it and didn't even happen. How much of that's God's plan? Of God saying, no, you're not going. No, you're not going to get there. No, you're not going to make it. It's not going to be that easy. We get dumb and blind to that and don't see that. And then we sit there and wonder like craziness about why that don't work the way it should when He's still making plans for the marriage supper. He's still making plans for what you're going to do tomorrow, tonight, whenever. All the plan is done there. And we've got full access to it. But we want to make the plan too easy. We write all this busyness down, and it consumes us. Now you tell me what's on your mind. What's come to you tonight?
I thought the song while you were talking. I'll take the road I know
Mm-hmm.
that leads where I must go.
Mm-hmm.
And follow. What Rick said a while ago about the ass, you know, the road looks good for Balaam. He even though he had sought God of what he should do and asked God's permission, and God said no, he wanted to, he went anyway. And God kept telling him no until finally, where he kept asking, God said, okay, go ahead. But, you know, the road looked good, so it took an animal that never spoke a word to speak to him and tell him and warn him of death and destruction that was ahead. Now that, he wasn't in God's plan. The road looked good for life. And when he got down there wasn't nothing but trouble, destruction, and the way things look good to us a lot of times.
Yep.
But, you know, it's important that we obey the Holy Spirit. God guide our steps. He will. He'll direct us in everything that we do. Do I always do that? No. Do any of us always do that? I think we have to be honest and say we don't. But God's plan for our life is wonderful. And it's not failure, like we talked about a while ago. It's not not being able to pay our bills. It's not none of those things. But when we go against God and we go our way, then there's trouble ahead. But I'm thankful that God's plan in my life. I've always followed it 100%. No, none of us have. But I'm thankful tonight for that plan. If I had it to do over, I wouldn't change a thing. But God has let me preach the gospel all these years. There ain't no greater way to be in than God's way. And it's fruitful and it's full of joy and peace. And we'll not find that in the world. I really enjoyed the lesson. It gets you thinking now.
There's an itinerary when you go to these ceremonies. I had to go to this thing the other day at Pine Mountain for a government thing we did, and there's an itinerary they give you. And I was sitting there thinking about that, and in my mind I was thinking about, you know, this, I walk in, I get this itinerary, and I see what all we're going to be doing in this thing we were doing, and all this you go through. But God says you were saved into a what?
Good work.
Good work. He's done got an itinerary.
He does.
Mate, for you. Not that you stumble and fall, not that you know, all these things. And then he says, you know, perilous times shall come, and in times there'll be tribulation, but what?
I'm with you.
Yeah, but he says what? Fear not, for I have, huh?
I have overcome.
I have overcome the world. Yeah. You may have tribulation. Perilous times will come. But the plan is that I have overcome. We've got too busy for our own good. Way too busy for our own good. I've got a friend of mine that is a wonderful biblical scholar. He can read that Bible and just quote it back to you like you wouldn't believe. But in the last 2 years, he has devoted so much of his time to his work that it's taken so much away from him that he's weak. And he'll admit to you, he's got weak. He can still quote the Bible like the back of your hand. He's very smart, very smart. But he'll tell you that because he stepped back from spending the time in the plan and staying in the book, that it's made him much weaker, a duller piece of iron, so to speak, than what he was when he hammered down and stayed in it. And that's so much for us every day. If work consumes you, and it does me, there's days I can't even remember what I did 4 hours ago in the ER, and I come back and have to think to put it back down. That's how we get to where the world consumes you to get so busy, that then you start wondering where God's plan went. I don't even feel anything anymore. People go to church now, and in some churches where there is still something to feel, they don't feel it. Because they've busied themselves so busy that their plan, that paper they've got, is so full of busyness. But God's plan's nowhere on it. It ain't even written in their to daily dues, their monthly, their yearly, whatever. It ain't even in there. God's plan ain't even wrote. Because it's consumed us so much to do what the world wants us to do, and when they want us to do it, and how they want us to do it, that it's overtaken us in the plan. Anybody else got a thought tonight? Anybody?
He's talking about the wedding supper. He didn't mention that with Christ and with God, 1,000 years is one day, so it ain't been a long time with him. It's a long
No.
time with us.
Yeah, our minds calculate time.
Right.
With God, it ain't been that long.
No.
Sorry to say that earlier, it's like 2 days
No.
he's been working on it.
Yeah,
Right.
but he's still working on it. It's still in the plan. The plan's still set. We're gonna do it. It's gonna happen. It's going. But whether or not we're in the plan, do you get the itinerary? That's what I'm really asking you tonight is, we are capable of knowing everything that comes our way if we want to. God is able to reveal as much as you can handle or more if you want to. It's the same as salvation. You can have it if you want to. But our want tos are getting weaker. They're getting,
If he's planned your life, he wants you to know what it is.
absolutely. It's no secret.
No.
No. And the more trust he sees, the more faith he sees, the more he's willing to reveal. Just like anything else. But when we get weaker and weaker and more confounded to this world, he says, that's not the plan, that's not the plan. Anybody else tonight got anything? Any other thoughts? Roger's being real quiet over there.
Trying to learn something.
Okay, well, I thought you had something to say. Anybody else got anything tonight? Any prayer request?
Still remember Lois and her family,
Still remember this?
and all the other people in the church ever since.
Rick's brothers,
Rick's
you
brother.
pray for him.
Do you remember this? Somebody else?
Me and my family, I have a special responsibility.
Do you remember this? Anybody else?
I can remember my two brothers.
Do you remember this?
All revivals, just pray for them. And I'll ask you to pray about revival here at the church. So.
Do you remember this tonight? Anybody else?
I desire interest in this prayer.
Do you remember this tonight? Anybody else? I'll tell something tonight that is an example for us all in the room, but it happened recently. But just recently, Chris has been over at Cracker Barrel to work, and came up to an obstacle of being that because he is over the age of 21, he does not have the freedom to choose to refuse to serve alcohol. Does not have the freedom to make the choice that he cannot refuse to serve alcohol. Let the table go to somebody else that will serve it or whatever, because he is over the age of 21. I want Chris to tell you in this room, because I never answered him. When he asked me what I thought about it, I never answered him. And to this day, I've not said anything else to him. But I want Chris to tell you on this room what he said.
It ain't my job. What I'm gonna do.
Said what?
It's not my job.
And what else did you tell him? What did you tell him why?
Why?
Tell him
It's
what you...
my religion.
He told him that his church covenant said that he was not to be dealing with the use or sale of an intoxicating beverage. And that's what he told him. And I've not said one word. You can ask him, I've not said one word to him about that. But you got to learn this plan. You got to learn it good. Because he didn't know when he walked in over there. They never told him in an interview. They never approached him and said, will you serve alcohol? Are you okay with doing this? Are you okay with doing that? They never said one word, did they? Not till it came to the table and they wanted to order it. Then it come, the trial stands. And when that time comes, is whether or not you know what God's plan is. That's how we fail. That is so much how we fail. But I never said a word to him when he came and asked me what I thought about it. I never said nothing. He just kept telling me that he told them that it was against his religion, that the church belief is that they're not to have any dealings with the sale or use of alcohol. How many that's been in church longer than the time he's been in don't know that? Won't do that. Won't walk away from a job and risk losing the job because I'm not going to walk away from what my beliefs are. I'm not going to go away from what I feel is right and wrong. Now, Chris will tell you in the room, as he told me tonight, that that's a big risk for somebody that lived a lifestyle that very substance could take you back. No matter how far you get from alcohol, that's all the devil wants is for you to start setting it on somebody else's table. Start putting it on somebody else's table. Get that bottle in your hand. Feel it.
Yeah.
You can crave it at that point. Some people, Chris tell you over here, he craves cigarettes. He can think about it and start getting it on his mind. And it comes to him to the point you want one so bad. It'd be so much better just to go outside and burn one for 10 minutes and just not think about nothing. Just sit out there and smoke. Or go buy you a 6-pack and drink it and not think about nothing else. Just let that buzz hit and you don't have to worry about nothing no more. That's real world right there. That's real life. That's what people do.
Right.
All day long. That's real. And we don't see how weak we get to where that it won't take but one little twitch for the devil to get us. Because we can't say, that's not God's plan. I'm not doing that. That's not God's plan. I'm not doing that because Lord willing, not me, whatever thy will, not thine be done. When you set your foot down, you got to keep that foot in that place. No foot to the evil, no foot to the devil. And you could walk in there just as much as, how many in here eats at Cracker Barrel? Everybody? I do.
Yeah.
How many eats at Texas Roadhouse? I do. You won't see me sitting at the bar. No, you won't see me sitting at no bar. But I eat in them places. But the minute that they tell me one thing that's not God's plan, that I am not to be dealing with or doing, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm done. The itinerary is done here before us and wrote. And Chris can tell you that you know, they gave him no trouble over it and they gave him no problem. But there's no variance now in the world. You either do it or you don't work. You either have to do it or you cannot be there. The underage ones have the freedom. He can tell you all the young ones over at work a few hours a week that none of them have to deal with it because they can't legally do it. But guess what that means? If he's working and he's the only one or two there over 21 and all them kids are there working waiting tables, he has to serve every table that asks for alcohol. Every single one of them. And that's the way the devil works right around us, so comfortable. You could think, well, that won't bother me, but I got to do it. It's my job. I got to have my job. I got to do it. And you could live that life and do that. And then God start pulling one little thing at a time until you let that go and let that go. Anybody else got anything tonight? Anybody? If not, we'll ask Steve to dismiss us tonight.
Gracious Father, we thank you for this day that you've richly blessed us with and all the blessings of life that you've given us. Most greatly, the precious gift that we know tonight that we have in Christ and his blood that was shed for us. We thank you tonight, Lord, for this time of looking at your word, your plan for our lives that reminds us, God, that so many times our plans, God, are so contrary to yours. But Lord, I'm thankful tonight, Father, when we can find ourselves in your way, and what you have for us, the joy that we have. We ask tonight, Lord, that you move in every request that's been made, the things spoken and unspoken that are on the hearts of your children.
Yes.
We thank you again, God, tonight for the fellowship that we have with each other. We love each other. We're thankful for that love that we share.
Yes.
As we separate tonight, we ask, God, that you go with us and just care for us as you always do until we can come and assemble together again. In the name of Jesus, we pray and ask these things.